How do we know when search results are good? That is a question I want to talk about today, because we could, for example, just look at the results and say, okay, they look fine or they look bad, and then try and fix them. So you could have a query with bad results, you try and fix it, and you think, right, you get the results looking better for that query, and you think, well, that's great. But the problem is then you look at another query and you find that actually the results got worse for another query. And this has happened to me several times. So what you really want to do is evaluate the ranking algorithm itself. And in order to do that, you need some kind of evaluation. And in order to build an evaluation, you need some kind of data set. And the question, if you're an open source non-profit search engine like we are, Mwmbl, is how you get that data set. And ultimately, what we want to do is use our community curations. So on Mwmbl, when you search for something, you can edit the search results. And the idea is that over time, we will build up a big set of these community curations and use these to train and evaluate our ranking algorithms. But we're not quite there yet because we need a really big data set in order to evaluate these things. And we also need a really high quality data set, and we're quite a way off on both of those things. So in the meantime, the idea is to piggyback off another search engine, in this case Bing. And what we do is first use the Bing's autocomplete functionality to come up with a set of queries that are kind of plausible queries that people might want to ask, according to Bing's, I guess, distribution of usage. And the way we do that is we put in a string to the autocomplete and get some other, suggested completions from it. So in this case, you put in GIMP and we get out GIMP mask. And then we use those other words as then input to, as then we choose words from that to then put in again to the autocomplete. So we put in mask next time and get some other things from mask. And we also do that with characters as well. So we split, we might put in TB and then get out this TBMN, whatever it is. So that's the first step in building this data set where we're piggybacking off Bing. The second thing is to actually get the results from Bing, and we can do this very straightforwardly. So we put in a subset of those queries that we sample from those queries that we've harvested from the autocomplete, and we look at the URLs that we get back. And I've done this once before. It costs about a couple of £100, which is annoying, but it's kind of necessary. So it's probably our most important expense because it lets us know if we're actually ranking stuff correctly. And okay, so now we've got a set of URLs for each query for our data set, but we need some kind of score. So we've got our own ranking of search results. We've got the ones from Bing. Now we need to get some kind of score from that. And this is the standard approach is to use something called NDCG. And this is, which stands for normalized discounted cumulative gain. And this is discounted cumulative gain at ranking P. So what you do is you sum up the results from I to P, from 1 to P, and you look at the relevance of that item, which can be between 0 and 1. This is so if it's 1, you'll end up with 1 on the top, and if it's 0, you'll end up with 0 on the top. And then you divide it by this log base 2 of I plus 1. So all that's doing is, as you go further down your rankings, you're giving less and less weight to the results. So what you want to do is make sure the results you put at the top are relevant, are the most relevant ones. Obviously, that's what you want to do, but this is how you maximize this score, if that makes sense. And then the normalized discounted cumulative gain is just basically taking the best possible discounted cumulative gain you could get and dividing by that, so that you end up with a value between 0 and 1, basically. And we've done this a fair bit in our evaluation. So the previous data set I built, I tried out a bunch of stuff, including some learning to rank stuff. and we managed to improve on the score a fair bit. But what happens is that the dataset becomes less relevant with time because the set of queries that people are asking changes and the set of results changes, and so we can't use the old dataset indefinitely, and it's been 2 years now. That dataset is not so useful anymore. So what I'm doing now is building a new dataset. And the goal for building the new dataset is then to start working on improving the ranking again, because we've now got a much bigger index than we did before. We've got over 500 million unique URLs in our index now, whereas before we were like a couple of million or something. I don't know what it was, but it was a lot less. So that's the plan. Look forward to hearing your thoughts on this. Thanks very much.